Lorraine, Vincent, I'm glad to be here with you at Vivatech to speak about this great topic, which is green IT. I'm not an expert myself, but I know you are, and I'm glad to learn some stuff about green IT today. Lorraine, maybe you can tell us a bit about who you are and what you're working for in the green IT field.
Yes, of course. I am an independent consultant. I am also a member of greenit.fr, which is a think tank that accompanies organization towards green IT. And I have worked on several studies, including a study on environmental impacts of ICT for France. Green IT is a think tank that works with organizations to accompany them towards more sustainable ICT. So I work with Green IT since 1 year, a bit more, and I have done a study on the environmental impacts of ICT in France, and I am also doing another study on a larger scale.
Impressive. Vincent, the same. Can you tell us who you are and what you're working on the green IT field?
Sure. So my name is Vincent Villet. I'm a data scientist at Publicis Sapiens. And about 6 months ago, I started with some coworkers a focus group on green IT. So we think together about ways to first measure and then reduce our environmental footprint, and also develop our expertise in eco-designing the digital products that we bring to our clients.
Okay. So as I told you, I'm not an expert. So maybe for me and for people who are watching us, we can tell them what are the main stuff we have to know when we picture the green IT landscape. Do you have some figures for me or some key facts?
Yeah, well, I think everyone knows today that climate change is a very serious issue and linked to human greenhouse gases emissions. And it's important to know that greenhouse gas emissions due to digital sector represent up to 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's more than civil aviation. And
Really?
Yeah, and a big problem is that at a time where we need to reduce drastically those emissions to keep climate change manageable, these emissions are growing rapidly. So every emissions should be reducing, and we have digital sector which is already at 4% and growing really fast, plus 7-10% per year.
So you're underlining that my laptop produces more than an airplane.
Well,
Your laptop is not only one laptop, it's a laptop between many laptops.
Okay.
So it's the whole ICT which has to be considered. What's important to consider is that ICT relies on hardware, and hardware needs mining metals to exist. So it has an important impact this way. And many people think that the data centers are what is the most impactful in the ICT, but it's not the case. It's the devices. Each equipment you have adds to another, and we are just at Vivatech, and you know all that the IoT is increasing rapidly, and there's a lot of takeoff from the IoT, and this is an increasing issue also regarding environmental impacts of ICT, because the equipments are the main part of the environmental impact of ICT.
Okay, so what you're telling me that streaming is not the main cause of digital pollution,
No.
but equipment production is.
If your streaming activity leads you to buy the new 4K television, then it's at that moment that you have to think, okay,
You get a point.
it's
Okay.
70%, like about 70 to 80% of the pollution is linked to the production, as Lauren was saying.
Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's a bit scary. Vincent, we're working in the same company, Publicis Sapient. Can you maybe tell us what a company like ours can do to fight digital pollution
Yeah.
and go for good?
Sure. At Publicis Sapient, we design and build digital products for our clients. So we are well placed to bring our activity in the right direction. The first step is to educate ourselves and educate our clients about why this is important, and also how to measure the impact so that we can then lower it. It's really difficult because it's not something that you can sense. It's like climate change. You have to know it abstractly, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So we focus on training, and we want to train ourselves to then be able to give trainings both internally and externally. And also we work on the tools that we can build and use to measure and bring environmental impact as a KPI in the design of the products that we build.
Are you able to measure the a company environmental footprint today?
It's really hard, especially when it comes to the missions that we do for our clients. There is quite a lot of modeling involved, but thanks to the work of organisms like greenIT.fr, we have more and more tools, more and more open data sets that we can use to make estimates. And it won't be perfect, but it can bring us closer to net zero in 2050, which is the goal for everyone.
Okay. And Lauren, do you think that measuring is extremely important for a company who starts interesting itself in green IT?
Indeed, because if you can't measure it, then you can't address the problem. So it's really important. And I will add to this that it's important to take in account not only the carbon footprint, but also the other environmental footprints, because there are also pollution transfers that have to be addressed. It's important to have the wide perspective vision to not have pollution transfers.
Okay, great. And as a manager in a company, I often picture green IT as a series of constraints. Okay, I understand that I have to do my part because it's extremely important that I'm really interested in it, but I only see it as a series of constraints. And I'd like to hear from Julia that there is something in it for me as a manager, as an executive. Can you give me some hope?
Yes, there's so much to say about this. I would like to say something about it. First of all, when you are in a creativity mission, constraint can be stimulation for creativity. So environmental has to be taken in the same way. Also, there's something else that is really important. People my generation, just like you, we are very interested in those subjects, and it's something very important for us. And we can quit a company and we can go in another company because we feel that they address or not the issue. And it's something that is really important if you want to address the talents. And I will also add that from a business perspective, it's like when you consider the lean strategy for lean startup approach, if you focus on what is really important for your client, what's really important to address the needs, then you avoid all the fat. And you have a more important impact.
Okay. Vincent, is that true? Don't you think that it's really important to get the latest iPhone from your employer?
I personally didn't get it, and I'm quite happy about it. So yeah, at Publicis Sapient, we use personal phones unless it's really necessary to have a professional one. We can say the same about laptops. In the traditional way of working, as a consultant, I would have my personal laptop, my Publicis Sapient laptop, and the laptop of the client that I work for. In a green IT perspective, it would be better to have just one laptop that we can use in all situations, and we are pushing to go in that direction, and we are having this discussion with our clients.
Okay, this is my case. So I only get one laptop for my client, Publicis Sapient,
That's
and
good.
my personal stuff.
And
So cool.
yeah, I want also
I'm on the right path.
to add that it's important to motivate employees. It's important to educate employees about these things. It can be a cost saving, but it's also important to consider these things as a company, because there are some risks associated in not doing it. It's not impossible that the cost of digital devices increase in the coming years. Also, you can't keep on assuming that your customers will buy a new, more powerful smartphone every 2 years. So if you only build your products for the latest generation, you might cut yourself off quite a lot of potential customers. And also, there are a lot of regulations coming soon. In France, there are talks in the parliament to, for example, make eco-design an obligation for big companies. And it will come also at a European level in the coming years.
Okay, so you tell me that if I get a sincere green IT approach within my company, I can get my top performer employees' loyalty, new customers. I can cut IT costs. Okay, and never mind, I will have to do it because in a few months, a few semesters, there will be a law in France and in Europe that will oblige me to go green.
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, I understand that I have to do more than my part. And as a particular, as an individual, can you tell me if I can do something to reduce my environmental footprint?
Indeed, you can. First of all, you can keep your smartphone the longest possible. Any device you have, you can keep it the longest possible. And then when you can't keep it anymore, think that you can recycle it or reuse it, and that there is companies, organizations like ONGs that can take the device and have a proper filière to recycle it or to reuse it.
Okay. And are they companies or associations you want to quote that I can rely on to maybe not buy but rent, not a smartphone but a fair phone?
Yes, for example, you have a company which is a cooperative, which is Common. Common, you can have a rent of a smartphone or laptop or a workstation, and you can keep it for 2 years. If you have any issue, you can call them and they will give you all the information you need or replace the device. And you can have an assistance if you need it.
Okay, super.
Yeah, I would like to add that education is key also for particular. So for individuals. So by educating yourself on this subject, you can begin to question your needs and maybe realize that you don't need to buy the latest iPhone when it goes out, when you have a working smartphone, or that you maybe don't need to buy a bigger screen for your TV. If you don't know what the impacts are, then you may have that desire, but knowing that it harms the environment the way it does, you will naturally tend to want less and be more mindful of the usage that you have of your devices.
Okay, great. One of my friends told me that our future will be low tech, and I really don't understand what is low tech. Well, okay, I'm 38 years old, so I knew a low tech world in my previous years. But can you picture me what would be a low tech world, and would it be sufficient to reduce the digital pollution growth?
Well, low tech is quite hard word to define. You said you grew up in a low tech world, but at the time you were younger, this was high tech. So the high tech of today may be the low tech of tomorrow. The important thing is not to think as a reflex that higher tech will always be the solution. And oftentimes, good solutions can arise from a mixture of higher tech and lower tech. I think Lauren has a quite good example on that.
Oh, I have two examples, if I can. I was thinking about the NASA. Also, NASA has sent Perseverance on Mars with a little chip which is 20 years old. So it's not really high tech, but it works. So the NASA use it. So maybe that's an example we can use. And I was thinking of an example more Earth on Earth. There is a company who wanted to address the African market for an app for meteorological applications.
Okay.
And they wanted to address the farmers in Africa. But they didn't knew how to do it. So they asked us to work on it. And do you know what was the solution?
To get this app in every village in Africa? Don't know.
They probably didn't count on 5G being deployed in every village in Africa, I guess.
Not yet, exactly. The issue was that they can't have the application for every farmers because they don't have smartphones. So they equipped one person per village with the application, but it was a very interesting choice because they choose to equip the teacher with a smartphone. So because
the teacher of the village.
The teacher of the village, because so the teacher have a smartphone and use every morning the application to write on the chalkboard the results of the meteo, and so when the farmers accompany the children to school, they have the information of the meteo.
Okay. So this is low tech. Okay.
And at the
this
other
is both
end,
low tech
there
and
is
high tech.
Very high tech, very complex machine learning systems to predict climate.
So you think our
the
future
village.
is a mix of low and high tech?
Completely.
Cool.
There's no opposition.
Great. This is the end of our slot. Do you have something to say before we end?
Yes, for sure. First of all, we have all the solutions to address the environmental impacts and to assess the environmental footprints of organizations, and then to address the issues. So go. And there is another thing. You have both business opportunities and cost-saving opportunities. So organizations have to do it.
Okay. Vincent, what do you want to tell me?
I know that you know that climate change is a serious issue, but I also know that it's very easy to forget it because we don't sense it every day. So keep on educating yourself as much as possible and know that most probably you can have much more impact in your professional life than in your personal one. So spread the word, start to think how you can do things differently. As Lauren said, there are lots of solutions today. It's easy to implement, and regulation is coming, so just get ahead of the regulation and get ahead of your competitors. Everyone will have to do it, so the first that do it sincerely will reap the most benefits.
You get a point. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci Lorraine, merci.